Let's jump into this story from the Post Millennial. Rich women of The View want illegal immigrants in New York resettled elsewhere. What? No. This is a sanctuary city, okay?
But frankly, I think we need to find, and we've dealt with this before. I lived in Miami. I was an immigrant in Miami in the 80s. You'll remember when we had the Mariel boat lift. Yes. 125,000 Cubans came in a matter of 6 months. It puts tremendous stress on a city, on a community, on the social services. They need to be resettled elsewhere.
They need to be out. We're this massive country.
Well, and it's only going to get worse with global warming and climate change.
I love these people.
Can't live in certain parts of this world.
Okay, I'm gonna pause right there, Joy Behar, and I don't know the other lady's name. No, you're a sanctuary city. You voted for it. New York is a sanctuary city. We should keep sending more. In fact, I hereby call on all border states to send as many people as possible to New York City.
They absolutely should.
Well, there are a lot of places, especially like New York, and these people will vote for stuff because they're so isolated from it. Like they're not there. They're not on the border. Like, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, they have to see it every day because that is where the flood is coming.
Yeah.
And they're over there 2,500 miles away. Like, oh, this is fine. Oh, we should be a sanctuary city. I'm like, that's really nice. You don't have to deal with it. It's not your problem.
Disgusting, and that's why they can have those opinions, because it's not real to them. It's an abstraction that they don't have to worry about, that doesn't touch them. Now that's why Eric Adams is we're always going to be a sanctuary city, because the number of actual illegal immigrants that they were getting because of their geographic location was totally manageable. As soon as you change the situation and start launching people into New York City, all that bravado about we're sanctuary cities, that stuff's out the window. Because in reality, these policies that they swear up and down that they want to have don't effing work. Period. Just don't work. Like, you have bumped into reality. And when your ideology bumps into reality, friggin' reality wins every friggin' time.
You are on the border. You live on the border.
My house is probably, as a crow flies, like maybe 2.5, 3 hours from the Mexican border.
2.5, 3 hours. Do you spend so you're running for the House representatives for the 23rd district?
TX CD 23.
What's the border situation like in your district?
Oh, it's atrocious. Like the Texas District 23, I liken it to like a dual-sided wrench, right? It's like the western side of San Antonio to the eastern side of El Paso. So it has more border frontage in that district than any district in the country. And it's just insane. You see a lot of these border towns and whatnot are dealing with this problem every day. And you have the class of rich liberal intellectuals that can postulate about these things, but they don't have to see it. They're isolated from it. So they get to have these, fantastical opinions about, this is the way we should be treating them, and I can't believe you do that. But they're not seeing the fact that, and now a statistically important percentage of the U.S. population in the last 5 years, the increase in the U.S. population has come from illegal immigrants crossing the southern border.
You know what the number is?
I heard the term 5 million. Or the figure 5 million the other day in the last, I think since Biden took office. I'm not sure if that's correct.
I imagine that so many of them are undocumented.
Yeah.
5 million that are aware, the people are aware of. So like, is the sentiment?
There's no real way to know.
What's the sentiment of the people in the 23rd district? Like,
from especially not only just from common sense, but from all the polling that we're doing, is like the immigration issue is the number one issue in the district. These people are fed up with it, and they're fed up with the way that politicians are handling it.
How would you protect the district? What would you do different?
So I like a lot of like Chip Roy's stuff, some of the stuff he's put up, which like Tony has actively worked against. Tony Gonzalez, the incumbent Republican I'm running against, because it's basically just trying to shut down the border entirely. Which is
what the guy is trying to do.
What Chip Roy, Chip Roy is actually, I would say, a really, really good Republican. He runs the district at Bernie, Texas, right down the road from me. That district. He's got some really, really good stuff. Like he's a very firm border guy.
Shut it down. Like, what would that? First of all, what does it even look like? Is it just flat? People can just walk across a sidewalk, or is it a river?
It depends. There's a river there. That's a lot of the viral footage that's gone around the internet lately, where they had the buoys with the quote unquote saw blades in the middle.
Oh yeah. But they got to remove those now.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of moves by the Biden administration to actively remove border barricades and things like
What
that.
were those put up by locals?
They were put up by the state, I believe.
And it's like they were floating buoys with literal saw blades between the buoys, so if people swim
it's
through.
razor wire, isn't it?
I looked at
Let me
it.
look
It's
it
not
up.
like a malicious looking saw blade. It looks like a piece of sheet metal that has a jagged edge there.
It was cutting people and killing them or something.
I
they were
don't
trying
think
to cross.
No.
It was nothing like
It's
that.
obstructing U.S. waterways. That's why they have to remove it.
Okay. So
That's
what,
it.
when you say shutting down, what would a shutting down of the border look like? Because I feel like it's not like, what does that mean exactly?
Well, there's a lot of Border Patrol folks, especially, that are tasked with managing that section of the border that aren't given the equipment and anything that they need. So that they're purposely being, I guess, suppressed in that way. There's a lot of frustration and a lot of Border Patrol folk.
Is the headline, excuse me, headline from the New York Daily News. 2 bodies found stuck in Rio Grande floating barrier along U.S.-Mexico border, according to Mexican officials.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you didn't know saw blades were in there, you might try and swim and climb over it.
But I don't know if there's saw blades in there.
I don't think the saw blades were the reason why they died.
Yeah,
It's something that's also not really talked about very often is that finding dead migrants is just a thing that happens in that part of Texas all the time. Like there's a ranch down the road in Uvalde that we go to a lot that has had issues with that where like there are literally dead migrants will wash up and they just find them. And that's a good 2 hours in from the border.
I feel like historically it's been the most, when countries have had to deal with mass migration like against their will, that it's been the most gruesome defensive measures have been taken and they just don't document it. Because like otherwise, or you hear about the Roman Empire getting overthrown by the immigration.
And let me be really clear. This is not like U.S. defensive border policy that's killing them. It's just the elements. If you've ever tried to walk anywhere in Texas with limited provisions for days at a time, that is a very, very deadly venture if you're not careful.
Walk a mile like today outside here. Never mind
degrees.
through the desert
Got
in
back
Texas.
from Texas, it's like over 100 for the entire time I was there.
Yeah, the entire last week I was just back in San Antonio. It's like 107 degrees is kind of the normal in the middle of the day.
What would be an example of U.S. defensive measures? That
A
they're
wall.
A wall is, it's one of those things where it's like, you can call the wall what you will, but a lot of Democrats said that the wall was just a massive waste of money. It's like some of the lower estimates were like $1-digit billion, like $8 billion, but we can give hundreds of billions to Ukraine.
Yeah, that's money that they need to send to Pakistan to teach kids about gender studies.
Right. So it's like that's a good, that's a good starting place, and also giving the Border Patrol folks the equipment and the things that they need to actually do their job.
Like what? What equipment?
Whether it's just the ability to staff the people that they need, like the people they need to actually work the border, vehicles, access to resources. Like, and the states are willing to do that, but the federal government isn't.
Oh, the federal government, are they withholding federal funds from the process, or are they actually legally impeding state defense?
I'm not sure if they've legally impeded state
they-
defense. They're like doing a lot of stuff like this. I've seen, there was one example. I think it was the countermeasure that they put up in the water was they were told to remove. But there was another one. I think it was like in Arizona or New Mexico that they were told to take the
shipping
barrier
containers.
down. Yeah, the shipping container. Thank you. Yeah.
They blocked off waterways with shipping containers?
Nope, just flat ground.
Yep.
And they made a makeshift wall using shipping containers, and they were like, you can't do that. And they're like, why? And they're like, we don't know, but
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's like a state trying to protect their own border, and the federal government actively said, like, and it's not a taxpayer money thing, because if that were the case, they would just leave it there. But they said, no, you actively have to remove this now.
Someone said, it was on Twitter, that the reason that the federal government's allowing such mass immigration is because the birth rates are down and they need new slave labor, tongue-in-cheek slave, they need new citizenry. And like, unless we're going to have a bunch of kids, the writing's on the wall and they need a larger population.
If they were that philanthropic about it, I think they would openly say it.
Yeah, like we need more people.
Right, which is not the argument that they're making. They're not that transparent. So there's obviously something else at work.
What, like a wall? What else? I mean, is there any? How can you prevent this illegal mass migration?
Well, there's a lot of things. Like I said, like giving like Border Patrol the tools that they need to actually do their jobs. A wall is a good start, but really, a lot of the things that I think that would help are just the removal of a lot of the entitlements too. Because it's like, if you remove entitlements, a lot of that desire to migrate goes away. Like, you've actually seen too, and it's an actual observable effect. the way that the U.S. economy fluctuates has effect on illegal immigration from Mexico.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting stat.
You talk about that. That's one of the things that like libertarians like a lot. Like, so there's a lot of open borders libertarians that they're kind of like, people don't, countries shouldn't exist. You should just be able to move freely where you want and stuff. The only kind of borders that there should be are property borders for property rights. If you have property, you can say people can come onto it, but you can't. States shouldn't be able to do that and stuff. And to me, it's compelling in the idea that like people should be free, right? Like that's what my gut instinct is. But you can't have an open border and be giving away the type of entitlements that we do here in the U.S. When you've got Social Security, unemployment, all kinds of social programs that are available to people that come to the U.S. that come to the U.S. or that are citizens of the U.S. If you get rid of the entitlements, then you can have open borders, because the situation is, if you want to come here and work, come work.
Even just listen to the conversation that they're having about in New York, and where they're getting a lot of these migrants bust in. The conversations they're having is like, how do we feed these people? How do we clothe these people? How do we put them into homes? How do we wash their clothes? Like, how do we do all these things? How do we teach their children? It's like, these are all just strains on the economic system.
I have an idea.
Being thrown into.
You don't. Because they're here illegally, and they shouldn't be here. Send them home.
You got to go back.
I mean,
go home.
Huge deportation. You support that?
Now, hold on.
It depends on what you're talking about.
I propose a program where when people come to the border, we ask them, what country are you coming from? And we ask them we get a questionnaire about their country and our country, and they're allowed to stay, because at the same time, communist leftists are lining up on the other side of the border, and we do a 1-for-1 swap with the anti-communist Venezuelans and Cubans for the communist hipster Brooklynites. And I think we can all agree that's a good thing.
That's like what people would do with like prisoners of war. They call it repopulation, where they would just take a huge section of their populace and
swap
move
them?
it somewhere.
Well,
if it's against their will. Otherwise,
you're at the southern border, and there's a line of people, and a guy walks up, and it's like, where are you from? He's like, Venezuela. And it's like, okay, and your views on socialism? It's really bad. I want to go to America. It's like, okay, and you, sir? Where are you from? I'm from Brooklyn. And you like communism? I do. Swap. We're good.
We just don't accept them back.
Oh, you can't come back? No, you're gone.
No take backsies.
you go to Venezuela. You go to Cuba. You go to communism land like you dreamed of.
So like Social Security goes to illegal immigrants at the moment. I really don't know what kind of entitlements these people are getting at the moment.
I don't think it's Social Security, but
think about what you can get without an ID.
Yeah.
And there's a lot. And so you can actually get an ID without proper documentation. And then once you have an ID, you can apply for literally anything. People don't understand that our system of welfare, it's not like everything's integrated perfectly and they know exactly who everyone is all the time. It's not like this gigantic mainframe has your face, your social, your Facebook profile, and then when you apply, they're like, it all makes sense. No, when you go to one agency, they're like, probably. That's why a lot of people who are not citizens get driver's licenses and they get registered to vote. There was an old lady who voted not being a citizen because she got her license. They automatically registered her. She did not know she wasn't allowed to do it or whatever. It doesn't matter. And they were like, that's a felony. You're going to prison. You're not a citizen. You can't vote. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.